Hello everyone, I am Deep Patel from the Department of Mechanical Engineering. Today we are going to start one important chapter of the basic mechanical engineering, that is chapter number 5, and the name of chapter is heat engine. Okay, so in this lecture we will discuss about the three important topics of the heat engine. First, we will discuss about the introduction of heat engine. Second, Carnot cycle. And third, we will discuss about the Rankine cycle. Okay. So first of all, what is the meaning of heat engine? Okay. So we can say that heat engine is the device which convert chemical energy of the fuel into heat energy, and then this heat energy is utilized to converting into the mechanical work. Okay, so let us take one example to understand this. Let us take one example of the petrol. Okay, so the energy which is stored in the petrol is in the form of chemical energy. Now when we introduce petrol into the engine, then after combustion it is converted into the heat energy, and then we use this heat energy to run the bike or any vehicle. Okay, so ultimately it is converted into the mechanical energy. So we can say that the chemical energy which is stored in the petrol is converted into the heat energy. It is in the engine. Then from the heat energy we convert it into the mechanical work. Okay, so we can say that simply heat engine is the device which convert chemical energy of the fuel into heat energy, and then that heat energy is utilized for doing mechanical work. Okay, so the main components of the heat engine are: first is the source from which the heat is supplied, second the working substance, and third is the converting machine. Okay, so let us understand it one by one. So from the figure you can easily understand this is the one simple heat engine. Okay, now there will be some reservoir from which heat is supplied. That reservoir is known as source. Okay, so first is the heat reservoir, and the reservoir from which heat is supplied is known as source. Second reservoir is known as sink. So the reservoir which gain the heat is known as sink. Okay, so first of all you have to understand two definitions. One is source and second is sink. Source means the reservoir which supplies the heat to the heat engine, and sink means the reservoir which gain the heat from the heat engine. Okay, now what happens here? If we take one example, if the source is supplying 100 kilojoule heat to the heat engine, after that what happens? 20 kilojoule of heat is going to the atmosphere. Okay, so remaining 80 kilojoule of heat will convert into the mechanical work. Okay, so 100 minus 20 is equals to 80. So here we can write work done W is equals to heat supplied minus heat rejected. Okay, so that much amount of the work will be done by the heat engine. So this is the simple formula of the work done by the heat engine. Okay, now we are moving to our first topic, that is the Carnot cycle. Okay, so what is the Carnot cycle? So first of all, Carnot cycle was invented by the Sadi Carnot in the 1824, and it is based on the Carnot theorem. Now what is the Carnot theorem? Carnot theorem says that no cycle can be more efficient than the reversible cycle operating between the same temperature limits. Okay, now what is the meaning of this? If we take two engine, one is the ideal engine and second is the real engine. Ideal engine is the reversible engine and the real engine is the irreversible engine. Now what happens if we run this both the engine between the same temperature limit, means between the same temperature of source and same temperature of sink? Now what happens? The ideal engine will have no friction, and because of this the friction losses will be zero in the ideal engine. So obviously the reversible engine will gain higher efficiency than the irreversible engine, because in the real engine there will be friction is present, and because of this friction there will be a heat losses occur. So we can say that always the reversible engine or the ideal engine will having higher efficiency than the irreversible engine if we operate both between the same temperature limit. This is the simple meaning of Carnot theorem. Okay, now we are moving on the Carnot cycle. So before drawing the cycle, let us understand some assumptions taken by the Carnot. Okay, so the first assumption was the working fluid is a perfect gas. Okay, and what is the meaning of perfect gas, that we have already discussed in our chapter number 3. Okay, so I am not repeating that, but here the Carnot had taken first assumption that here working fluid will be perfect gas. Okay, now the second assumption was the wall of cylinder and piston are considered as a perfectly insulated. Okay, so what is the meaning of this? No heat transfer will take place from the wall of cylinder and the piston. Okay, so here we have take the wall of cylinder and piston as a perfectly insulated. Okay, now the third assumption was the compression and the expansion processes are reversible process. Okay, so there will be no any kind of friction losses occurs during the compression and expansion process. Okay, next is the piston cylinder arrangement is weightless. Okay, so the all over weight of the engine is neglected because the weight of the cylinder and piston is 0. Okay, so this is the simple diagram of the Carnot cycle. From the diagram itself, you can easily understand that the cycle is made by the total 4 processes. Okay, now let us understand all the 4 processes. In the process 1 to 2, here you can see that the volume is increased, and because of the volume is increased, we can say that it is the expansion process. But this expansion is carried out at constant temperature. So we can say that process number 1 to 2 is the isothermal expansion process, and during this process the temperature will remains constant. Okay, now the second process is also expansion process, because you can easily see that from 2 to 3 the volume is increased, so it is the expansion process. But here no heat supply is taking place, so we can say that this is the adiabatic expansion process. Okay, now process number 3. In the process number 3, what happens? The volume is decreased from point number 3 to point number 4. Also you can see the heat is rejected to the atmosphere in this process. So we can say that it is the compression process. Second, we can say that it is the heat removal process. And third, you can see from the diagram here the temperature is remains constant. So we can say that T3 equals to T4. So finally we can give the name of this process as isothermal compression process. Okay. Now process number 4 to 1. 4 to 1, again you can see from the diagram there is no heat transfer during the process. So we can say that 4 to 1 is the compression process and no heat transfer is taking place. So we can say that it is the adiabatic compression process. Okay. So this is the 4 processes. Process number 1 to 2 is the isothermal expansion process, and during which heat is supplied to the system. Second process 2 to 3 is the adiabatic expansion process. Third, process number 3 to 4 is the isothermal compression process, and during which heat is rejected from the system. And process number 4 to 1 is adiabatic compression process. Okay, so these are total 4 processes of the Carnot cycle. Okay, so from the PV diagram also you can understand this is the first process, the isothermal expansion process, during which we are going to supply it. The second figure is shown that adiabatic expansion, during which no heat transfer is taking place. Third is the isothermal compression, and during the isothermal compression heat is rejected from the system. And fourth is the adiabatic compression process. So during the adiabatic compression there is no supply of heat or no rejection of heat is taking place. Okay, so now let us understand this. So the 4 processes: isothermal expansion process, process number 1 to 2 adiabatic expansion process, process number 2 to 3 isothermal compression process, process number 3 to 4 and adiabatic compression process, process number 4 to 1. Okay, now let us discuss about the efficiency of the Carnot cycle. So let us start it. So here first is the heat supplied. So heat supply during the process number 1 to 2, and that is the isothermal expansion process. So when we were discussing about the isothermal process in chapter number 3, we have derived this equation of heat supply. That equation of heat supply for the isothermal process is PV ln V2 by V1. Okay, and for the process number 1 to 2, we can write P1 V1 ln V2 by V1. That is the equation of heat supply for the isothermal expansion process. Okay, so PV equals to MRT from the characteristics gas equation. So we can write here RT1 ln V2 by V1. Okay, next is the V2 by V1 is the compression ratio small r. So we can write RT1 ln R. Okay, this is the equation of heat supply for the isothermal process. Next, heat is rejected. Now heat is rejected during the compression process, and that is the process number 3, isothermal compression process. So we can again write same formula, that is the P3V3 ln V4 by V3, because here heat is rejected in process number 3 to 4. Okay, so same we can write PV equals to MRT. So here we can write RT3 ln V4 by V3. Okay, so we can write V4 by V3 so we can write V4 by V3 as a compression ratio R. So we can write RT3 ln R. Okay, so these are the two formula of heat supply and heat rejected. Okay, now we know that the work done during the cycle is equals to heat supplied minus heat rejected. So we can write here heat supplied as Q1 and heat rejected as Q2. So finally what happens? We can write W equals to RT1 ln R, that is the heat supplied, that is the amount of Q1, minus Q2 means heat rejected, it is equals to RT3 ln R. Okay, so we can write thermal efficiency as work done divided by heat supply. Now we know the work done equals to Q1 minus Q2 upon Q1, and so we can write here 1 minus Q2 by Q1. Okay, now we know the equation of Q2. Q2 is equals to RT3 ln R, that is the heat rejected, and Q1, that is the heat supply, RT1 ln R. So ln R is common, so it can cut, and RR is common, so it can also cut. So finally our equation is become 1 minus T3 by T1. Okay, so from this equation we can easily understand that T3 is the temperature where heat is rejected. So if you know the concept of heat engine, then we can write that T3 is the lower temperature of the system. Okay, now T1 is the temperature, higher temperature, and from the higher temperature we supply the heat to the heat engine. So we can say that T1 is the higher temperature of the engine. So here you can write 1 minus T3 by T1 as 1 minus lower temperature upon higher temperature. Okay, so here we can write efficiency of the Carnot cycle as 1 minus T lower upon T higher. Okay, TL is the lower temperature and TH is the higher temperature. So this is the final equation of the efficiency of Carnot cycle. Okay. Now let us understand some limitations of the Carnot cycle. So first of all, the first limitation is Carnot cycle is a hypothetical cycle. Why it is the hypothetical? Because Carnot cycle is the reversible cycle, and in the reversible cycle we know that the friction losses is zero. But in the real engine there should be friction is presented, and because of the friction there should be some loss. So we cannot generate as much as amount of efficiency of the real engine compared to the Carnot engine. Okay, so that is, we can say that it is the hypothetical cycle. Second, the thermal efficiency of the Carnot cycle is depends on temperature of source and sink only. It is not depends on the working substance. Now we know the equation of efficiency as 1 minus T lower upon T higher. So we can say that the efficiency of Carnot cycle is depends on temperature ratio only. So if you are using the petrol or diesel or any other fuel, then the efficiency will not affect by the fuel. Because it is depends on only temperature ratio, and that can be not possible in the real situations or in the practical situations. Okay. Third is, practically it is not possible to neglect the friction between the piston and cylinder. Okay, so that is also, we have also discussed that is in the reversible process. So practically we cannot neglect the friction. Okay, and fourth is the output determined per cycle is very small. So these are the limitations of the Carnot cycle. Okay, so this is all about the Carnot cycle. Okay, so in the Carnot cycle we have discussed assumptions, limitation and the efficiency of the Carnot cycle. Now let us move towards the next topic, that is the Rankine cycle. Okay, so let us understand first what is the Rankine cycle. So here you can see in the Rankine cycle there are total 4 components. Okay, the first component is pump, second is boiler, third is the turbine and fourth is the condenser. Okay, so there are total 4 components here. So let us understand it one by one, what is the function of this component and why it is put into the cycle. Okay, so first component is pump. Now pump is used to convey the liquid from lower elevation to the higher elevation. So first of all, pump will supply the liquid from low pressure to the high pressure boiler. Okay, now what happens in the boiler? In the boiler we supply heat to that water. So finally what happens, the heat is supplied to the boiler and finally the water is converted into the steam. Now then this steam is carried out to the turbine and then the high pressure steam will rotate the blades of the turbine. So what happens, finally turbine will produce electrical work. Okay, that is denoted by the WT. After that what happens, that steam is going to the condenser. Okay, in the condenser what happens, steam is rejecting heat to the atmosphere, then it is converted into the water. So in the condenser what happens, steam is converted into the water. Finally that water we supply by the pump to the boiler. Okay, and the cycle is repeated. So these are the 4 major components of the Rankine cycle. So again I am repeating, pump is used to carry the liquid, second boiler is used to supplying the heat, third is the turbine, by rotating the turbine we can get the electricity, and fourth is the condenser. Condenser is used to convert steam into the water. Okay, so these are the main 4 components. So let us discuss what happens in this component. So we have to supply some electrical work to run the pump. Okay, so pump is the work consuming device. Second, in the boiler we are going to supply the heat. Third, turbine is the work producing device. So in the turbine we are going to producing the work, and the condenser, in the condenser we are rejecting the heat. So these 4 you have to understand. Okay, so let us start the Rankine cycle. So these are the main 4 components: boiler, turbine, condenser and pump. Okay, so this is the typical Rankine cycle. From the cycle itself you can easily understand that process number 1 to 2. In the process number 1 to 2 the pressure is increased. Okay, so we can say that here the pump will supply the water from lower pressure to the higher pressure. Okay, then process number 2 to 3 is the heat addition process, and during this process what happens, in the boiler we are going to supply the heat and gradually water is converting to the steam. Okay, then process number 3 to 4, in the 3 to 4 turbine is rotated and we are producing the electricity. So process number 3 to 4 is the work supply. In the process number 3 to 4 the turbine will supply the work. Okay, now in the process number 4 to 1, that is the condenser. So in the condensation process the steam is converted into the water. So it is the heat rejection process. So here we can say that heat supplied process is process number 2 to 3 and heat rejection process is process number 4 to 1. Okay, so we can write here, if we write the efficiency, then first of all we have to find the heat supplied. So heat supplied is taking place in the process number 2 to 3. So we can write here heat supplied QS is equals to H3 minus H2. Here H is the enthalpy. Okay, so enthalpy at point number 3 minus enthalpy at point number 2. Okay, this is the heat supply. Now next is the work developed in the turbine. So in the process number 3 to 4 turbine is producing the work. So we can write WT is equals to H3 minus H4. 4. Okay. So heat is rejected. Heat is rejected in the condenser in the process number 4 to 1. So we can write Q rejected equals to H4 minus H1. Okay. So and the work supplied by the pump is equal to the pump is equals to WP, that is in the process number 1 to 2. So we can write WP equals to H2 minus H1. Okay. So the net work output is equals to W turbine minus W pump, because here turbine is producing the work and pump is consuming the work. So the net work output we can write it as a WT minus WP. Okay. Now the efficiency of Rankine cycle we can write efficiency of Rankine cycle is equals to work done divided by the heat supplied. So we can write net work equals to WT minus WP upon the heat supplied in the boiler. But here we can understand that the amount of work which is produced by the turbine is very much large than compared to the amount of work which is consumed by the pump. So sometimes we are neglecting the pump work in the efficiency. Okay, so here we can write usually pump work is very small compared to the turbine work. So if we neglect the pump work, then we can write the efficiency of the Rankine cycle is equals to work of turbine divided by the heat supplied. Now we know the work of turbine is H3 minus H4 and heat supplied is H3 minus H2. Okay, so this is the final equation of enthalpy of the Rankine cycle, that is H3 minus H4 upon H3 minus H2. Okay, so this is what all about the Rankine cycle. So in today's lecture, we have discussed three important topics of the heat engine. First, we have introduced the heat engine. Second, we have discussed about the Carnot cycle. In the Carnot cycle, we have discussed the Carnot theorem, assumptions taken by the Carnot, Carnot efficiency, and the limitation of the Carnot cycle. Then we have discussed the Rankine cycle. In the Rankine cycle, we have discussed four major components of the Rankine cycle. Then we have discussed the efficiency of the Rankine cycle. Okay, so this is what all about today's lecture. Thank you for watching my video.